Hey y'all, welcome back to Shady Conversations, where we speak the truths most women keep tucked away. I'm your host, the legacy curator, Shaina Mowatt. Whether it's your first time tuning in or you've been riding with me since the beginning, this platform is all about shamelessly amplifying the unspoken truths of womanhood, and today's episode is another step on that journey. Let's get into it. Let me fill you guys in on what life is looking like right in this moment as I record this episode. So it's actually November. We're about 2 months away before Shady Conversation hits the public. Life gets crazy around November because it's the holidays. So many November babies have birthdays, like my niece and my nephew. With all the planned craziness, Jamaica recently was hit by Hurricane Melissa, and it's pretty bad out there. Now, I've told you guys that, all of my family is Jamaican, and I still have family in Jamaica. So just making sure that I'm doing my part any way that I can to donate. It's definitely kept me up at night a little bit, but Jamaica's going to pull through. We're strong people. And then, of course, we can't forget about all the craziness that's happening right here in America with the government shutdown. Thank God that just ended. A lot of people weren't getting paid. A lot of people were missing out on food stamps and things of that nature. And I know we have some more crazy times coming. Just trying to stay positive and keep in the light of things. I'm just feeling extremely blessed that I'm able to donate and give back in any way that I can, and I'm not hurting for it. And I'm also still able to be the rich auntie to my niece and nephew so that they're not feeling left out in any type of way around their birthday. It's also Q4, and I'm taking a look at production goals and my new goals for the coming year. I'm trying to figure out how I can end with a bang and start with an even bigger bang. Yeah, I just got a lot that I'm working through. I'm planning my annual Curating and Cocktails party, which is actually going to dub as a release party for Shady Conversations, but the guests just don't know that yet. I'm just excited. It's going to be a good time as always. I actually just went today to check out the venue, and I booked it. I locked it in. So now it's just time to start getting the word out. And yeah, that's what life is looking like today. Okay, so as we get into this episode, let me set the scene. Just last week, my boys were home from school for the whole entire week. They caught hand, foot, and mouth, and I decided I was going to use this time to start some new routines since I'm just going to be in the house. For them, morning bathroom antics, introducing the potty, and for me, I decided to go back to not drinking coffee in the mornings and having tea, both in the morning and at night. I also said I was going to take a break from alcohol. So everyone talks about chamomile tea, and I don't think I've ever actually had it, but it's supposed to be relaxing. So I decided to make it my nighttime tea. The box actually says for quiet moments, soothing, and digestion. So I figured that was a good one to be my nighttime tea. But then I started having some weird dreams. Okay, don't judge me, but these are 2 dreams in particular that I'm going to talk about. And this is, like I said, just last week. So one of them was, I'm not going to set the entire scene, but basically me and my man sexy time video got uploaded on my IG stories. And it felt so real. Like I woke up and I had to check my Instagram, even though I know that didn't happen, but it just felt too real. And then another dream that I had, it was my homegirl Irene, who was actually on a previous episode with me. Like I was meeting her man for the first time, which I've met him a bunch of times. So it, like I said, the dream just doesn't make sense. But I was meeting him for the first time, and he was a paraplegic, and he was living in, which he's not. Let me just say that. He's healthy, thank God. I'm not trying to call anything on his life. But he was living in like a roommate house, and my dad was one of his roommates. Again, it just didn't make any sense. So the dreams were just throwing me so bad. I was like, what is in this chamomile tea? Am I on shrooms right now? Like, I think I need a drink. Is this my stick-to-itiveness being tested right now? And I hate to fail a personal growth test, of course, because, like, I be trying to level up like Mario. One thing about me is that I'm a dreamer, and God really communicates with me through my dreams. But these dreams just weren't making any sense, and it was about 4 a.m. I was honestly just really tired, ready to go back to sleep. So I told myself after the second night, I'm going to wait to figure it out. And if I have one more dream, then I'll do a deep dive. But my spirit kept tugging at me. So I said, okay, I'm going to write what my dreams were and revisit them. Mind you, it was like 4 a.m. And like I said, I wanted to go back to sleep. But my little baby Assad, he was awake anyways. I don't know who told him to be an early bird, but he didn't get that from me. After writing it out, I was like, okay, there has to be a deeper meaning because this makes no sense. And I heard a voice say, do it now. So I took to Google. Some of y'all probably already judging like, why didn't you take it to the Bible? Why didn't you just pray? And yes, that would be very holy of me. But realistically, I wouldn't know where to look. So it would also be very phony of me. I also knew that voice was God because my spirit was unsettled. And the simple fact was that my spirit would settle when he feels I came to the right conclusion. Again, you have to know how God speaks to you. It's different for everybody. My immediate answers are in my dreams. My prayers help with navigating whatever was communicated in my dreams. And the answers to my prayers tend to take time. I think God be leaving me on red, and rightfully so, because who am I to rush? I would have prayed and God would have been like, girl, I already told you. I didn't type exactly what my dreams were into Google. I felt like it was too complicated and really just too much to type. You know, they be watching you too. They probably would have sent the police to my door for a wellness check if if I really told it all. Instead, what I said was, what does it mean when a dreamer starts to have distorted dreams? So what Google said was, a person starts having distorted dreams due to a variety of reasons, including stress, anxiety, changes in medication or substance abuse, and underlying mental health issues. Okay. Stress and anxiety. Am I dealing with a lot right now? Yes, but I refuse to chop things up to anxiety anymore because I think anxiety goes completely against having fearless faith. So I'm trying not to just chop things up to my anxiety. I'm not on any medication or substances. I actually was not drinking alcohol at the moment, just some tea, whatever's in that chamomile. Sleep deprivation or irregular sleep schedule. Yes, I have twin toddler boys. I'm not getting no sleep. And like I said, Assad was up at 4 a.m. Who is sleeping? But that's going to be the rest of my life. I can't keep having these distorted dreams for the rest of my life. Long story short, I just was not satisfied with what Google had to say. I took it to ChatGPT. You're listening to Shady Conversations, the space where real women speak real truths, hosted by your legacy curator, Shaina Mowatt. And behind every episode is TSS Motif, the creative engine curating powerful experiences, brand storytelling, and meaningful conversations. From social media production to brand development, event curation, and transformational spaces, TSS Motif is where vision meets voice. If you're looking to collaborate, elevate your brand, or dive deeper into each episode through the Shady Conversations blog, head to tssmotif.com. All right, back to the episode. I want to take a moment to pause and just say that this is not about superstition. It's purely about insight. So just flow with me, okay? I asked ChatGPT the same thing that I asked Google. What does it mean when dreamers start to have distorted dreams? And this was the answer that I got. They broke it down into different categories. They gave me, a little bit more. So your psychological or emotional causes, like Google said, stress or anxiety. They also said unprocessed emotions, identity or life transitions. Cool, I can relate. Physical or environmental factors could be interrupted sleep cycles, substance or medication, fever or illness. Okay, I got that too. But then chat continued to go on and they said spiritual or symbolic interpretations. Some see distorted dreams as a message, a signal that something in your spiritual or emotional world is out of alignment. It can represent inner conflict between your conscious and subconscious self, a wake-up call to address something you've been avoiding, or a transition into a deeper level of awareness or transformation. And I think this is what kind of got my wheels turning to dive a little bit deeper. Now, I like chat because chat be talking back. Chat said, when a dreamer starts to have distorted dreams, it can mean different things depending on the context and what distorted looks like. So I went on and I told chat that to me, distorted means that it's a bunch of jumbled scenarios that have no connection, like my man's friend being my dad's roommate, and no clear meaning to the dream. So chat replied, Because we be talking. Chat replied and said, the jumbled scenario phase of dreaming. Dreams that feel random, like your friend's partner being paraplegic and your dad being his roommate, usually happen when your brain is processing multiple unrelated thoughts or emotions at once. It's like your subconscious is flipping through open tabs from your day, week, or even past memories. The dream doesn't follow logical storylines because it's more about emotional feeling than coherent storytelling. This often happens when you've been mentally overstimulated, multitasking, social interaction, screen time, things like that. It can also happen when you're emotionally loaded, you're thinking deeply about relationships, responsibilities, or future plans, or even when your sleep cycles are inconsistent. At this point, chat is just hitting it on the head. And so chat goes on to say, symbolically speaking, even if the dream feels disconnected, the mind doesn't usually pick completely random imagery. Sometimes the mix of people or roles represent themes rather than literal events. Chat went on to ask me, can you tell whether your subconscious is just clearing mental clutter or trying to signal something deeper? Now, I just gave you guys a breakdown of what life looks like right here now today for me. A small breakdown. Like, that's just a sample of it. Just a little taste, a little appetizer. So in my head, I'm like, geez, it sounds like a little bit of both. Like, my mind is clearing mental clutter and and maybe it is trying to signal something deeper because now my spirit is bothered. So I'm like, let's figure out what these themes are. I don't really want to focus on what was in the dreams because, like I said, they make no sense. But the deep dive that I took into my dreams led me to 4 growing pains that I think is probably more common than not for a lot of women, people in general, but it's Shady Conversations, so we talking to the girlies. The first growing pain is different worlds colliding. The second one is in progress spaces. The third one is exposure and control. And the fourth one is integration over meaning. So some women like myself are good at compartmentalizing their lives. Not emotions, because we are emotional creatures. But that's another conversation. The shared experience here is where you have to face when purpose, identity, emotional truth, and everyday life begin to collide. So right now we're going to normalize the confusing middle of growth where everything feels misaligned but is actually falling into place. Just flow with me. So right now I'm preparing myself for a completely new life in relationship, business, my spiritual, and apparently my mental. Like I said, it's Q4. We're almost at the end of the year. And everything in 2026 has to look different than 2025. So when it comes to different worlds colliding, I think that the familiar faces in my dreams, whether they were family or friends, was signaling my safe places. It's the merge of who I was, who I am, and who I'm becoming. Emotionally, it feels uncomfortable because old comfort zones are meeting new boundaries. For example, with this podcast, with me opening up and talking a little bit more about my story, things that I've never ever talked about before. Yeah, it's a new space. It feels uncomfortable and everybody's going to hear it. I want you to ask yourself, what version of me am I still trying to protect that God already evolved me from? Second growing pain, the in progress spaces. Let me kind of explain how I came to this a little bit. So that first dream with my man, again, very weird, but we were actually in a house that he was fixing up for my broker, which they have started doing business together because my man does construction and, we all are real estate. So they have been connecting and doing business together. And I think that's why it showed up in this distorted dream in that way, which also goes back to worlds colliding because now I have my personal relationship is now connecting with my business relationships. But the theme is really just the discomfort of being under construction, spiritually and emotionally. In real life, a half-finished home or a messy room or transitional spaces in dreams, They represent becoming, faith building, emotional decluttering, boundary setting. I'm going to circle back and talk more about how I'm changing. But like I said, this year and next year are going to look completely different. And I'm analyzing all the goals that I've accomplished and all the things that I want to do. And in order for me to reach a new level, I have to become a new person. The struggle here is that we want the finished product, but real growth is going to be happening in the mess, in the renovation. Okay, y'all clock that one, okay? Write that down. Real growth happens in the renovation. If you've ever remodeled a home, done any sort of renovations, whatever the case is, you know that it can be real chaotic and things can pop up that wasn't planned for, and it's a headache and you're feeling like, why me? You may even start to question why you started doing this in the first place, and is it even worth it? Regret, 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 tomatoes, tomatoes, tomatoes. I don't want to be here. It's ghetto. When it's all said and done, it's beautiful if it's done right. And then you're just happy you stuck it out. Real growth happens in the renovation. Sometimes the chaos is not necessarily punishment, it's proof that God is working on you. He's remodeling. So now tell me this. How often do you mistake progress for disarray? This episode is brought to you by me, your legacy curator, Shaina Mowatt. I'm not just here to talk about growth, identity, and purpose. I help you build the life you're praying for in real time. As a real estate professional, mortgage originator, and financial strategist, I guide individuals and families through the decisions that shape legacy. From purchasing a home to restructuring debt, to creating a financial plan that feels doable, intentional, and God-led. Whether you're buying your first home, trying to understand what you can actually qualify for, wanting to utilize real estate as a wealth building tool, preparing for a new season financially, or just tired of trying to figure it out alone, I'm here to help you move from overwhelmed to over-prepared. If you're ready to stop guessing and start building, you can connect with me directly at yourlegacycurator.com or click the link in the show notes. Because legacy isn't something you leave behind, it's something you're building right now. All right, back to the episode. Okay, so the theme of exposure and control, which was also a common theme in my dreams, really came into play when my sexy time video got leaked. And it didn't really get leaked, so don't go Googling it or nothing like that. It was just a dream. But it really just symbolized like the tension between being seen and wanting to stay safe. And I think that is really showing up as I approach the release date of this podcast. Because I'm talking about some things that I've never talked about to anybody, whether they're friends or family or strangers, especially church folk, work folk, like anybody can hear it. Dreams about being seen when you're not ready or losing control of privacy mirror real life vulnerability. I don't know a lot of people who talk about things while they're going through it. A lot of times I hear people say, I'm fine, I don't want to talk about it right now. Or you'll hear the outcome. You never knew that they were going through something, but you heard about it after the fact. Sharing things before you're healed makes you vulnerable. And then God forcing transparency for your growth, you kind of feel like you're losing control. Which brings you to the concept of surrendering. Yikes. Sometimes exposure isn't humiliation, it's revelation, and God is just showing you what still needs healing. But for me, putting out this public platform, He's showing me what I need to heal through in front of everybody else. And I'm still here and I'm still doing it. So now I want you to ask yourself, what part of my story am I afraid for people to see? And why do I still feel the need to control it? So when we get into this last theme of integration over meaning, integration is allowing the fragments of past pain, current effort, future vision to exist without no problems. Like they're all just happy in one dream. And it makes no sense to me, but it's here, it's present. So when I have distorted dreams like this, I can't really obsess over the meaning. I have to focus on what is this dream revealing. The lesson isn't always in decoding the dream, it's in becoming whole through it. Now, you all may not be dreamers like myself, and some of you are. Where we all can relate in this is that growth isn't necessarily linear, and healing doesn't need to make sense to work. So now ask yourself, how can I honor all versions of myself without needing every season to make sense? The thing about being a dreamer is that all of your dreams have meaning. I don't dream every night, but when I do, I have to tune in. I tried to ignore the first distorted dream and chop it up to, I need to rest my brain, but I couldn't ignore it the second night. Distortion is what happens when your spirit and your reality are still syncing. It's not a breakdown, it's an alignment. Sometimes God blurs the familiar so you can stop depending on it. Sometimes He distorts the picture to help you focus on the feeling. What looks unclear right now might not be exactly where your clarity is going to be born. So now that I have an understanding of what my distorted dreams mean, I can ask God for direction and the tools to navigate these uncharted waters and to strengthen my patience to see this transitional period through. And the next night, I slept like a baby. I may not know where this transitional period is taking me, but I am fully aware that I am in a critical breakthrough in my life at the moment. And I'm just going to embrace it. So last Friday, after I've been having these dreams, Monday, Tuesday, I got a text from my sister Natasha saying she was going through her journal from 2011. And in it, she had wrote that she had a dream about me getting new shoes, and I was showing them off. She said she wasn't sure what that meant, but new shoes was a good sign, I guess. All right, this is the confirmation, guys. I went to church that Saturday not knowing who was preaching or what the topic was, but lo and behold, Pastor Delroy Hurd delivered a right on time message for me. The gist of it was he spoke of how we all have a little prodigal son in us, and we can never stray too far for God to reach out and touch us. But some of us have fled to a faraway country from our families, in this case, the church. So I wasn't running from God, but I was running from the church. Basically, it's time to come home. He spoke of not being a slave to shame when we return home, and when we are restored, we'll be blessed with new shoes. Like, come on, that is what my whole platform is about. Not being a slave to shame, being freed of our choices and decisions. Like, if that's not confirmation, then I don't know what is. That message could have meant something completely different for others, which I can tell it did because I didn't do no hollering, but the saints were filled that day, okay? Naturally, I had to go for altar call. There was too much confirmation between that message and my distorted dreams and my platform not to. If you're not familiar with altar call, after the preacher preaches and delivers his message, he'll do a prayer. And sometimes he prays for the whole church and sometimes he prays for people individually. Today, he was praying for people individually. And during his prayer, for me, he mentioned God is calling me to my purpose. And I'm here to do more than sell houses. I'm meant to interpret dreams. There's no way, because I did not tell him that I was having these distorted dreams. And like I said, I've always known that God communicated with me through my dreams. I just didn't know what level it was taking me to. I will say that I don't know what that's going to look like moving forward, but only time will tell. But there is a shift happening, and here I am once again stepping into fearless faith, but this time with new shoes. Sometimes your confirmation doesn't come until you're in motion, like with me recording episodes to put out in the upcoming months. As you're laying those foundational bricks and you're like, why do I want to do this? Am I supposed to be doing this? Am I fit for this? What is going to come from this? It won't make any sense until just one day it does. So I just want to encourage you to get started on walking in your purpose, even if you don't have the answers now. If you're feeling tugged, pulled, restless about doing something, get to it. Your answers will come. As we wrap things up, I just want to thank all of today's listeners for sharing space with me today. If today's conversation spoke to you, I hope you give yourself permission to sit with it, speak on it, and heal through it. Remember, she has an intentional destiny yielding, and this journey, it's yours to own. Don't forget to subscribe, share, leave a review, and follow us on Instagram and YouTube at That's So Shaina. If you're ready to be a guest or a sponsor, tap in. We're building this platform together. Until next time, stay shady, stay grounded, and keep the conversations going.